Hello, I'm Andrea from Happy Cloud Creations, and I'm jumping on today because it is week 5 of the Rainier Echoes Quilt Along. Um, if you have not joined in on the Quilt Along yet, it's not too late. Last week we made 1 of block 1, and this week we are making 4 of block 2. So, if you have any questions along the way, please let me know. I will try to make sure to see the comments. Hello, Julie. Let's see. Okay, some people are jumping on. Block 2 is on page 7 of the pattern. It's a fairly easy block. The major tip for this block is make sure you are using consistent seams throughout your seam and for each seam. Since the first block was made up of a different amount of seams, so we just had the 6 units and they were all sewed together. This week it's constructed a little differently because we start from one square and add on to it in sections. We want to make sure all of our seams are consistent. That way, when we go to add each block together or each section of the quilt, since some of these blocks are huge, my last week block was, let's see, I'm making the large throw. It was 30.5 by 30.5 last week. That's the large throw. So it's a fairly large block. So I kind of call them sections of the quilt. Hi, Sue. Hello, Debbie. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys are all joining. So any questions along the way, please let me know. I'm hoping the video works out this week. Last week it was all glitching on the Facebook, and right now it looks like it's filming okay. So to start out, let's see, we're on this page. I also like to keep handy my cutting sheet where I identified color A as yellow, color B as navy, color C as white, and color D as the light blue, royal blue, because since you are not using the colors that are on the pattern, sometimes it may get a little confusing and you might be like, which color am I supposed to use? And then you end up using the wrong colors. So I like to keep this in front of me so I keep reminding myself, okay, my color A is yellow and my color D is the blue. So, hi, Linda. For the very first step, it's super easy. You put your 2 fabrics right sides together. Hello, Valen. I'm so happy you like my patterns and my quilts. Right sides of fabric together. And if you're doing directional print, you want to make sure they're all going the same direction. Consistent seam from one side to the other. If you notice your seam is veering smaller at the ends, you're going to want to go back and fix that so it is consistent 1/4 inch scant seam all the way through. And then, let's see, we will be ironing toward color A, which mine is yellow. I like to set my seam, and then I like to finger press it open and then set it. A lot of motion, if your seam wasn't completely straight, will open it and make it wonky. So when you are ironing, you want to press so that the seam is nice and straight. And then since these are such large blocks in the large throw, queen and king, if you're making one of those larger sizes, even the smaller sizes, I like to measure and square up at each step. So you want to make sure, see, mine's a large throw. I want to make sure this piece is what? It's 4.5, no, 5.5 by 10.5. So make sure, okay, yeah, if that's 5.5 by 10.5, it's going to match up exactly to this strip that is 5.5 by 10.5. And then we're going to, again, sew from one side to the other. I did pin because when it's larger pieces, I like to pin just to make sure that one of the fabrics isn't moving at all when I'm sewing it. And again, consistent seam from one edge to the other so that you make sure that all of your pieces are going to line up like a puzzle and go together correctly. So again, I'm going to set my seam, finger press it open, and then press it. If you're smart and think ahead, you will wanted to cut 2 of these. If you have directional print, cut 2 of these this way and 2 of them this way. I did not do that, but since my print is kind of just like a color on color, if it's going the wrong way, it's not going to be that big of a deal, and from a distance, you won't even tell. I am not a super picky person about all my directions going the same way. If I can do it and make them all go the same way, cool. If I don't, and they don't end up going all the same way, I don't freak out about it. I'm more of a, okay, this fabric is a certain color, and that's what I'm looking for in these pieces. These are, that color is standing out to make the design, not them all going the same way. Some people are really particular about all their directions going the same way. Okay, and now we're on, so that's step 1 of block 1. Step 2, we're adding the color B pieces, which is the same technique of doing this one. First, you add the small piece to the side, and then you're going to add the long piece to the bottom. After you add this piece, press, or you're going to want to finger press it open, press, set your seam, finger press it open, and press. And then you're going to want to measure this. If you have a large square ruler, those can come in handy to make sure this is the correct size. I have a 12.5, which I guess this one's not big enough. And then I also have a 16.5-inch square ruler. I think you can even get 20.5-inch square rulers, but I don't have that. I just have a 16.5 because that is my typical go-to size block. But you're going to want to make sure it's square and it's the correct size. Because next we're going to be making pieces that are going to attach to this block. So on Facebook, you kind of have to scroll every once in a while to see all the comments. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Pam. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. So step 3, we're going to be sewing 3 half square triangles together. Make sure you're sewing them the exact same direction they say in the pattern. If you sew it the wrong way with the pieces going different ways, it won't end up correct. So make sure your D's are on top, okay, like this. Your D's are on top and your C's are on the bottom for this one. And then your C's are on top and your B's are on bottom. And also, if you have directional print, try to make sure all the directions are going the same way. And if, when you made those, the half square triangles, if you did your seam this way on one and then the other way on the other, you should have the correct amount of directional prints going the correct ways. So for this, I just pin it up so all 3 squares are together because I don't want to only pin 2 and bring the other one to the machine and try to remember which way it's supposed to be sewn on. If I pin it all at once and then I chain piece, because I like to make all 4 blocks at one time instead of 1 block at a time. I chain piece all the units on one side, I cut it off, and then I go and do the other side for all of the strips. I got strings all over me since I've been sewing this morning. Sorry, guys. And then this one will be like this, and then I just set that seam with my iron, and then you're going to want to note the arrows on the pattern where it tells you which ways to iron your strips, because you're going to want these to nest. Once you sew them together, you're going to want, let's see, that's the bigger one. when you sew them together, you're going to want them to interlock and just those seams to butt up right next to each other so that when you sew them together. I like to pin at each intersection and then in between for larger blocks and at the ends. And when I sew, you want to make sure it's a consistent seam all the way through. And when you're going over these little humps, go a little slower so that your needle doesn't shift the fabric at all. And you're going to be wanting to go, which the way I iron these, you can't see, but you're going to want to go over that little intersection. Like, see here how it has that little intersection? That's where your needle's going to be hitting. But I know if I go a 1/4 inch scant all the way down, it's going to hit at the right spots. And then when I press it open, my little points are going to meet correctly at that intersection. And since all of my prints are going the same way, it kind of, you can't, from a distance, you won't be able to see that seam. So you're going to want to do that with this section in step 3, and then in step 4, you're going to do the larger section, and make sure you're putting the pieces all together in the correct way, in each strip going the correct way, and each strip going this way. I guess that was upside down. So once you have all those, and again, set your seam and then press them, finger press them open and then press them. No motion, just press. Let's see. Here's my next piece. Okay, so you're going to want to take these and you'll know which color goes together because these triangles are going to go up to that solid color. And you're going to want to, again, what I like to do is line this seam up with this bottom half square triangle to sew them together. So if you can see that, this is a really large block. So when pinning them together, I like to line them on any seam there is. So this one, I lined it up on this seam, and then pinned out. And on this smaller section, I lined it up with this seam and pinned out. So my finished block. I have to finish the other 3 since I kind of use them as demos. And I will take a picture once I have all 4 done. Does anyone have any questions about this block? I don't think anyone has questions. You guys are just superstar quilters and you don't have any questions. It is a fairly large block. This one ends up being, where is it? This one ends up being, because all 4 blocks aren't the same size, guys. This one ends up being large throw, 25.5 by 25.5. Any questions? Any questions? I have bonuses, how to sew, but my little daughter and I are watching. You have bonuses, how to sew. I don't know what that means, Yessie. I also am doing the large throw. Julie, do you like how big the blocks are? I was kind of worried that some people might think the blocks are a little too big, but the reason I like big blocks is you can make a baby-sized quilt in the same amount of time as you make a queen-size quilt. And there might be a little extra time in the sewing just because the length of the seams, but it goes together really fast. Oh, you have no idea how to sew, Yessie. If you have a sewing machine and you can sew a straight line, quilting isn't that hard as long as you start out with like a beginner-friendly pattern. I have a couple free patterns on my website that are pretty beginner-friendly if you want to check them out. Any other questions? This week's giveaway, or I guess I'll tell you last week's giveaway, Tonia in the Facebook Quilt Along group won this week. She won a pattern bundle from Julie Burton from Running Stitch Quilts. Julie is actually on Instagram and she's on Facebook as well. So go check her out. It's Running Stitch Quilts. She has some gorgeous quilt patterns. I think it's kind of cool. Okay, cool, Julie. She thinks the large blocks are cool. What do you guys think? Is anybody else doing a large throw, a queen, or a king? I'm curious what you think of the large size of these blocks. So Tonia won the pattern bundle. This week's giveaway is sponsored by Amy Reber of Amy Reber Designs. She is a fabric designer here in Washington State, where I live. She actually lives like, I think an hour and a half away from where I live. She designs gorgeous fabric for Clothworks Fabrics. And she is donating a bundle of her new fabric line. I think it's called Ivory Woods. She's donating a bundle to the winner. So this week, you need to post a picture of all 4 of your blocks. If you have large blocks on me, like me, it may be hard to put them all in one picture, but my plan is to go lay them down in my grass, my front yard, and take a picture out there so that you guys can see all 4 of them together. And that winner will be all the entries on Instagram. Instagram, you need to use the hashtag Rainier Echoes QAL. And on Facebook, just post it in the group, and then I go through all the photos after my prompt and write down your guys' names. And then I'll take all those entries, put them together, and pick one winner from random. I'll assign you a number, and then pick a number from randomnumber.org. And that's how I get my winners. Debbie says she likes the large blocks, and Linda says, I like large blocks better than small ones. Yeah, I think I agree. I like the big blocks. If you're worried about squaring up this large block, if you squared it up along the way and made sure every piece was what the final unit size was supposed to be, once you get to the end, it will be the correct size. And so I'm not really squaring up my ending blocks. I'm going to wait until I sew them together in rows to see if there's any like discrepancies. But it should be fine as long as you're doing those consistent 1/4 inch scant seams. A scant seam is 1 to width, like the needle width, smaller than a 1/4 inch on your ruler. All right, so I'm excited to see who wins this week's fabric bundle. It's really pretty. It's blues and whites. I love it. And if you haven't yet, go follow Amy Reber on Facebook and on Instagram. She's on both. She designs beautiful fabric, and she does a lot of fabric giveaways when she releases a new line. Every once in a while, she'll do a little giveaway of a bundle of her fabric. So go follow her. Yeah, you saw it, Linda. It is pretty line. Once I get down, sew down a little of my stash, I'm going to buy a bundle for myself and use it because I love all her designs. So if you guys don't have any questions about this week's block, this week we're making 4 of block 2. And since all of your half square triangles were already done, this block will go together fairly quickly. And that's why I'm having you do 4. And make sure to post a picture to enter the giveaway. And I will be on here next Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. again to do a live video to go over block 3, our final block, guys. This quilt along is going together so fast. The quilt's going together so quickly. I can't believe it. We only have block 3, putting our top together, and then putting our quilt completely together. So 3 more weeks. That's it. And then we're going to all have finished quilts. So I will talk to you guys next week, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can email me at happycloudcreations.com. No, happycloudcreations@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, and there's a contact form that you can email me from. Or you can just post a message in the Facebook group, or you can private message me on Instagram if you have questions. And I will talk to you guys next week. Have a great day.